I've definitely been given the toughest gig to try and wake you all up after you just had that amazing food against the backdrop of real talent that was speaking this morning. Now, I normally move around a lot. I am genuinely petrified I'm going to fall off the end of the stage. The camera's ready if I suddenly face plant. I'm going to talk to you, as Katie said, about going live. And I'm going to ask you all to be more chameleon, because these animals are amazing. They can choose to change their colour. You all know that. They can be timid and they can change colour and recede into the habitat around them, or they can be bold and allow their colours to shine through. Some stuff you might not know about them. They've got two independent eyes which are scanning the environment around them, constantly taking pictures. They're deciding when prey has come into shot and what prey they're going to go after. Chameleons aren't there firing out their tongue at everything. They're not busy trying to snaffle every opportunity. There's real smarts between choosing what prey they go after. They stabilise themselves with their tail, they've got a compressed body and a swaying gait that allows them to balance on branches so they can stay hidden and then pop. And when they choose to pop, they have the confidence to reveal themselves around that habitat and snaffle the opportunity in front of them. And this is my metaphor for the B2B industry, because whilst there's lots of talent out there, there's lots of shy chameleons who are choosing not to reveal themselves, they're choosing not to be bold, and they're choosing not to express themselves within their habitat. One of the first things we do when we engage with a new brand is we look at the vertical of the posts and the content that's in channel. I'm going to give you an example. Cloud computing. Thousands, if not tens of thousands of businesses publish cloud computing posts. You will struggle to find any that aren't a picture of a cloud, a rainstorm, or some metaphor for bad weather. And whilst brand colours differ slightly, when we're scrolling, we think we're seeing content from the same brand, and it is spanning millions of data points. They're being timid chameleons. Going live is a great way of cutting through and making impact with your audience. Tangible impact, influential impact. Now, there are some fundamentals that we need to talk about. Yes, you need equipment. If you're doing sophisticated broadcasts, you probably need some of the broadcast equipment, like the cameras at the back. Gary, who's running the camera, has been working with me for going on 10 years and has helped us deliver a load of stuff around the world, including the case study I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. But you can also go live off your laptops, as you would have all done during COVID. But I bet you all fell into the trap of not following some secret sauce structure that would make your lives pop. And I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to help enhance your lives, whether you're on location, at an owned event, an industry-run event, whether you're in your office place, or whether you're at your home laptop. Stats. Just like a Nike advert, all the stats are saying just do it. Now, I pulled these statistics yesterday to make sure you were getting the very latest information. Nielsen have just released a report saying live content accounts for almost a quarter of global viewing time. So that's a quarter of everything on social and online is live. eMarketer tell us 52% of live content is streamed in social media. That is a massive number. And here's the kicker. You probably all think the junior demographic out there, the younger demographic, 18 to 34-year-olds, you won't be surprised to hear 63% of them are regularly watching live content. But what might surprise you is that 34% of the 35 to 54-year-old demographic is also regularly following live content. Think about the age of the audiences and the prospects you want to reach. Whether you're doing it now or not, over the coming years, you are going to have to encompass live because they want live. The channels want live. We want live because we're educated by it. We're influenced by it. We're entertained by it. But, as the great philosopher on the gym level said, Houston, we have a problem. Because too many marketers aren't asking themselves the right questions. A lot of the content we're publishing is as a result of the latest push from a boardroom, or a product, or a service, or an offering. And we have to appease leaders by creating that content. But if we're doing that, we're creating content that means more to us in the business than the audience we're trying to impact. And we've got to pivot that. Wasted talent, wasted budget, wasted time, but most of all, a confused audience. This is a genuine press ad. In case you can't read it, I just want to read this out. So cognitive allows us to be more of who we are and accentuate humanity's best. I mean, what the heck does that mean? For anyone that's unaware of Merrin, she is the editor-in-chief of Money Week. She writes for the FT, which is interesting given the post she's published, and she's a financial commentator on TV and radio. If she can't figure out what the hell that advert is talking about, how is a prospect going to come to the conclusion that they need this business's help? This is a common problem in B2B. The brands got caught up with what matters to them, and they've not looked at what matters to the audience they're trying to impact and influence. But there's a solution. I really should be on money for this next bit. Anyone that works with me knows I'm a huge fan of Sinek's books. In fact, I've bought his entire series, including the book that helps me find my own personal why. I literally tell graduates, new recruits, the first thing you need to do is go and buy this book or buy the audio book. I believe it is a genius marketing Bible. And I believe that because it's centered in science and human behavior, and it has an abundance of irrefutable examples showing why Sinek is one of the smartest people out there. Me try and do justice to what Mr. Sinek talked about. The limbic system, the human brain, it's where we process all of the emotions and thoughts, fight or flight, nostalgic memories, to-do list problems that we've got. When we resonate with the topic, it's the limbic system, the connection of sensors within the brain that process those thoughts and fire us into action. Now, it was once said, we need to, in fact, I heard somebody say it earlier, we need to win hearts and minds. Classic old marketing statement. But in Sinek's book, he references the science showing it's to win minds, then hearts. Win the limbic system, and people choose to invest time to discover more around the topic. Win the mind, you get the heart, you get the dwell time, you get people looking at your content. Go back to the content that we've all seen across B2B, those cloud images going out. Nobody's thinking, wow, I want to go find out more about cloud computing off the back of those. The reason the limbic system is critical is because of how we process the why. Now, most brands, unfortunately, are focused on the what. Nearly every salesperson is focused on the what because they're taught to FAB, feature, advantage, benefit, which if you're on a one-to-one basis in a room like this or on a phone, and you tell somebody about a feature and they give you an objection, you can then use the advantage and the benefit to objection handle. Name one format of advertising where you can objection handle. It's impossible, it doesn't happen. The hows, they're a bit difficult, a bit harder, I should say, to figure out. And most people think these are your propositions or unique selling points. Some people think these are the difference between why a brand buys from one to another. And whilst that may be true, there is a critical piece of information missing. But the whys, if you publish content that starts with the why, that helps people understand why this proposition, why this service, why AI will unlock value within your business, you will get greater resonance. Now, I should say, Sinek created this structure to set at a brand level for brands to understand their why. And there's a great Apple example within the book. 1997, a brand came to market before Apple iPod. They launched with an MP3 player flash drive with gigabyte memory. One problem with that. Nobody knew what a flash drive was and nobody knew what a gigabyte memory was. Apple, 2 years later, with better technology, 1,000 songs in your pocket. They figured out why everyone would need it. And for those of you old enough like me who can remember carrying a Walkman around, you're thinking, I need about 10, 12, 13 albums to get anywhere near close to what this little thing is going to give me. I now want something I didn't know existed because they landed the why. Sinek created this at a brand level. We have since proven it works at all level of brand comms within social media, and the data is significant. I don't have time to go through it today, but speak to anyone at the IF team and they'll help you. Which brings me on to brands as broadcasters. This is our live proposition. The holy grail for brands is getting on the sofa normally a red sofa, I don't know why it's red, but they want to get on the sofa. Some years ago, I was thinking, why isn't anyone trying to own the sofa? I'm going to talk to you about a super successful event, an event that we did pre-COVID for Fujitsu. Pre-COVID, Fujitsu Forum was their signature annual event. And they did it at the International Congress Messe in Munich. That's the place. 7,000 square meters this place is. It is that big. Caterpillar host their annual event where they literally drive their giant diggers and all their excavation equipment for mining. They drive between all the halls. It is massive. Fujitsu were quite successful. They attracted 12,500 people flying in from over 72 countries. And whilst that sounds great, what we said is, what if we could take that entire experience and take it out to millions of relevant stakeholders? We also said to Fujitsu a couple of other things. We want to run a 2.5 day long live broadcast. We only want to collect long form content, which people say doesn't work on social media. We're only going to target CXOs, which people say aren't on Facebook. And guess what? We're going to target the content on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And if we do that and stay true to starting with the why, not producing credentials videos and not allowing Mr. or Miss Salesperson coming in talking about why the latest feature on the product is critical. If we stay true to landing content that's going to give business impact and societal impact, we'll be successful. Whenever an agency is on stage digging themselves up like this, you're all probably thinking, oh, how much of this is true? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the very person we pitched is sat in the room, Mr. Jim Millen. So he will tell you that we genuinely said all of these things to him. Now, Jim, like his colleagues at Fujitsu, are brilliant people. Fujitsu's an engineer at heart. They prophesize on outcome and they go and prove it works. So Fujitsu said, okay, if you think this can work, we'll back you. Here's the budget. We're going to need some KPIs around it. We need a return of investment, but go ahead and build something. When we started talking about this, it was 2016, 2017. No one in the B2B category was doing stuff like this. In fact, most brands that we spoke to said, that's not for B2B, it's for products within the consumer markets. Fujitsu was smart enough to back us, and the results were significant. I'll come on to those. We say to brands, go live for impact, because it makes huge standout. I spoke to LinkedIn yesterday. We're LinkedIn partners. We have access to their team. They told me yesterday, organic live content averages 12% engagement. Just think about all your other content that you're putting out. Go back to your office, look at your organic content, take a look at the engagement rate, and that alone should tell you why you should be doing more lives. Now, I'm not advocating you go back and do a big signature outside broadcast like this. If you want to, great, come and talk to us. I'll get really excited about that. But start with your laptop, start in the office, and start with the why. And if you do that, I'm probably going to get in trouble now. It's a pretty big number, isn't it? But the number we're most impressed with is this one here. Almost 69,000 of view times. It was said earlier, the watch time. We're not interested in the big vanity metrics. It's about what's been consumed. At the end of 2.5 days, that was the metric. And we said, great news, we've got 69,000 minutes. Fujitsu said, is that good? We don't know. Katie Howe figured out that view time is equivalent to binge watching Game of Thrones all 8 seasons back to back 17 times over. Shit, that's a big number. As somebody that sat through Game of Thrones a few times, all of a sudden that puts it into context. Long form only content targeted to CXOs in a location where apparently they don't exist, and they were the results. Fujitsu said, well done. We're going to give you more money. Next year, we're going to build a studio in the center of Forum, and you're going to become the theatre of it. What happened in year 2? Well, Mr. CEO, the same consumed content as it would take to watch flying around the world 15 times over, non-stop. Here's the secret sauce. We started with the why. We just didn't know at the time why the why was important. Sinek's book and the science came later, and admittedly, more by luck than judgment. Christ, we've been doing this. Now that makes sense as why this why content is sticking. And we've obviously wrapped around the science to justify what we do. But here's the kicker, guys. You can all do this. The next time you're doing a live, if you start with the why, so why is this message, why is this content, why is this offering or proposition going to deliver impact, and have confidence to give some intellectual property away to evidence, you will make huge impact. And test it against the stuff you've done before. The engagement will be there. This isn't me just saying it might happen, it will happen. Prove me wrong. Any questions on what I've said? 20 minutes. I'm hoping that's piqued some interest. And if anyone thinks any of that was flawed, go and chat to Jim. The only reason we stopped doing it was COVID, and we're hoping to get back to it again this year. It's probably one of our most successful initiatives as an agency, isn't it?
Any questions? You know where to go. Oh, one over there.
Just wanted to ask, can you explain again what the why was for that?
Yeah, really good question. I can give you two examples that spring to mind. In fact, one of them came up in a conversation we were talking earlier. The gentleman to your left, you were saying, influencers within government, you sometimes struggle with that. One of the standout interviews was with an amazing man called Martin Caveats. He was the advisor to the Estonian government. And he rocked up to this corporate event wearing his funky outfit, no socks, and he had these shoes that looked like frog feet. Right? And he was a really charismatic guy. The interesting thing was, he came with a story about Estonia, 1.2 million citizens, and their completely transformed digital transformation, tax returns, 17 seconds. Anyone that's filed their own tax report returns here knows why that is bonkers. You have a child, you automatically get registered for school and the tax credits. He was talking about this topic, the why within the segment that we asked him about. Is it viable that Estonia with 1.2 million citizens can create the roadmap for a country with 65 or 86 million citizens like Britain and Germany? And the debate was why siloed working within the UK and all the teams was impeding true digital transformation. And we had a really embellished discussion around that very topic. So the whys will differ based on the vertical and the discussion point, but stick to why it's going to be of interest to the audience. Why is it going to impact the audience? And don't let your sales team pull you into a credentials or a sales-orientated message. The best thing I can also say about Fujitsu, some salespeople gave us an honest run on this. People that wanted to be product first. They came on, gave us a true run in answering questions around some of the most provocative topics within technology. AI. Weeks earlier, a person of colour had been ejected from an Apple store in the west coast of America, wrongly identified on facial recognition as a criminal. And Fujitsu said, well, okay, let's talk about it. And let's talk about why the machine learning was missing to take the unconscious bias out of the AI. But if you apply the ML and the multiple data points, unconscious bias goes, ethical AI use, category impact, revenue opportunity. And find the why on all of your stories and stay true to it. The fact that I can remember those stories 4 or 5 years on, I see Jim nodding, so I know I've probably got the story right. I can talk passionately about this, so if anyone else has other questions afterwards, come and find me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.